Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyane. So we are now looking to April 14th, when the trial will resume, and we'll give you updates on a daily basis of developments in the Meyiwa trial. Now let me get back this morning to developments after it had become clear that there were now two sets of investigators. Two sets of investigators emerged out of the Vosloorus police station. And it would appear that immediately after it became apparent that there were now two sets of investigators handling the Meyiwa trial, and that they were not in agreement as to what had happened in that Kumalo house on that fateful day, a lot started happening. The first thing that happened was that those who were pursuing the narrative of 375 found themselves marginalized. You'll recall how in the previous video I told you about how Colonel Joyce Buthelezi, had simply resigned from the committee overseeing this investigation after her recommendations were rejected. So that sort of weakened the no intruder team, let us call it that, because that meant that a few others were then left to carry the baton, to push forward the narrative that there had been no intruders into that house. It would appear that Buthelezi was the first casualty of those disagreements, because as soon as she voiced a dissenting opinion that there had been no intruders into that house, she started facing threats of one sort or another, which prompted her resignation. So it was left to people like Brigadier Ndlovu, the late Brigadier Ndlovu, and Warrant Officer Makubu, among others, to push this narrative. Now, those who were pushing the intruder theory gained ascendancy. They took control of everything and made sure that those who pushed the other narrative, that there were no intruders, are simply marginalized or eliminated in so many ways. And a number of strategies were resorted to. It began with threats that some Buthelezi exit or leave that steering committee. But as time went on, because those who were pushing the narrative of 375 were determined to go along with it, in spite of the dangers that they were facing, things started turning out very badly for them. We have seen how Teffo, for instance, let us come to the trial, the first trial, the Chifua Mahumela trial. We all know what has happened to Teffo. ever since Teffo made that startling disclosure that there in fact existed a docket 375 that implicated the people in the house. We now know of the infamous courtroom arrest of Teffo. We saw on our television screens how Teffo was bundled out of the Pretoria High Court like a common criminal. It was all staged because it did not have to happen that way. It was all staged to send a message to whoever was behind 375 that this is exactly the treatment that you are going to get. It is also interesting to note that following that arrest, which was really intended to humiliate Teffo, the judge in the trial, Judge Teffo, has up to today never commented about that situation. It happened in his courtroom, but the following day he just proceeded as if nothing had happened. We have seen all the trouble that Teffo has gone through. And all these troubles can simply be traced to his unrelenting pursuit of docket 375. But perhaps Teffo is one of the luckier ones, because there are others who are not so lucky. We know of several people, potential witnesses, who have simply perished. And if you add the dots, it becomes very clear why those witnesses perished in the manner that they perished in. Now, a high-profile elimination took the form of the elimination of Brigadier Ndlovu. We now know that Brigadier Ndlovu is alleged to have been poisoned at a top-level function held by police management. Ndlovu is supposed to have eaten some chicken there and died the following day. It was a sudden death. And to this day, that investigation, that endless investigation into his killing continues. So you see, those who push the narrative of 375 have had sometimes to pay with their own skin and blood. Not only did Ndlovu get killed, his wife too, who was in the process of investigating the circumstances of how her husband has died, was also killed in a most brutal manner when she was shot multiple times. And that investigation, like the investigation of her husband's death, still remains work in progress. It is yet another endless investigation that will probably come to nothing. Let us look at Warrant Officer Makubu. Makubu is still here with us, but Makubu has faced so many threats also death threats, among others. He has had his house broken into as a way of intimidating him. So that is the trajectory of how people associated with 375 have been dealt with. So it was that the people behind 636 gained ascendancy and silenced those behind docket 375. So in a sense, they have achieved what they set out to achieve. Because before the Pretoria High Court now, we are only seeing the narrative of 636. And the narrative of 375 is on the sidelines. Balui told the court that, for all intents and purposes, that's an irrelevant docket. The only relevant docket, your lordship, that we have for the purposes of this trial is docket 636. So 375 is a sideshow. But it is a sideshow that will not go away. Because thanks to Teffo and to his credit, we are now aware of the existence of this docket. And this docket will simply not just go away. It is now up to the defense to make full use when the trial resumes, especially in the defense case, to bring up all the issues surrounding 375. In other words, to counter what Balui said when he told the court that 375 is irrelevant. They must now place 375 squarely on the record so that it comes to the attention of the judge on record, under oath, through witness evidence, that the version that is hearing unfold before him is not the only version. And then perhaps he will be better placed to make up his mind as to the guilt of the people standing trial in that courtroom. So for now, there we have it. 375 has got problems for those who associate themselves with it. Like the truth everywhere, those who stand the truth are never popular. But the whole idea here is to pursue justice for Senzo Meyiwa. And it is commendable that there are people who are determined to stand up and be counted. So that is the story of the two dockets, to put matters into perspective. In the next episode, we'll look at other issues. We'll look at other issues around this controversy, this unusual set of circumstances of the two dockets. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video, and let me thank you in a most special way for all the subscriptions and the views that I'm seeing. Please like and share this video and all the other videos and subscribe. Please have a nice day.